There is a quiet strength that lives in the person who chooses not to be shaken by every storm, insult, or misunderstanding. This isn't about becoming cold or detached. It's about learning how to stay rooted in your truth. It's about training yourself to be unbothered. In a world that glorifies urgency and applauds the loudest voices in the room, stillness can seem like passivity, but make no mistake, stillness is not weakness. It is the deliberate decision to remain rooted in your truth, even when the noise of the world tries to pull you into chaos. Stillness is the quiet confidence that says, I don't have to prove anything to anyone right now. Think about how often we're taught to react instantly, text back quickly, defend ourselves immediately, jump in with a response the moment we feel uncomfortable. We're conditioned to match the speed of the world around us. But what if power lies in doing the opposite? In pausing, in breathing, in stepping back. Stillness allows you to see clearly. When you're still, you can hear the voice of your intuition without it being drowned out by fear, ego, or the opinions of others. It's in stillness that clarity rises. You get to ask, is this even worth my energy? Is this aligned with who I am? When you give yourself permission to pause, you create space between the trigger and the response. That space is where emotional maturity is born. But stillness doesn't mean you're ignoring your feelings. It means you're honoring them without letting them hijack your behavior. You can feel anger, sadness, or discomfort and still choose to respond from a place of groundedness instead of reactivity. That choice isn't easy. It takes training. It takes self-awareness, but the more you practice it, the more powerful it becomes. Stillness is the difference between reacting out of insecurity and responding with integrity. It's the quiet moment when you choose peace over proving your point. It's the breath you take before replying to something that once would have triggered you. It's the courage to sit with discomfort instead of trying to fix, explain, or escape it. And in that stillness, you discover something extraordinary. Not everything that calls your attention deserves your energy. Not every conflict is yours to carry. Not every comment requires correction. The person who learns to sit in stillness becomes unshakable, not because they don't feel, but because they've trained themselves to feel deeply and still respond wisely. Stillness is not about detaching from life. It's about engaging with life from a place of alignment. It's choosing presence over panic, reflection over reaction, and peace over performance. In a world that demands you stay busy, loud, and endlessly reactive, choosing stillness is a radical act of self-respect. This is what makes stillness a superpower. Because in stillness, you don't lose your center, you return to it. When we talk about peace, most people imagine it as something external, a quiet home, a break from responsibilities, or a temporary escape from noise. But the deepest peace doesn't come from what's outside, it's built from within. And at the very foundation of that internal peace are boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are bridges of clarity, strong, intentional lines that tell the world, this is what I need to remain whole. They're not meant to keep people out. They're meant to keep you intact. They define how others can engage with you while preserving your self-respect, your energy, and your emotional safety. Training yourself to be unbothered doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care so deeply about your peace that you're no longer willing to hand it over to people who haven't earned your trust or respect. That's where boundaries come in. They are not selfish, they are sacred. Boundaries say, I will not explain myself to people committed to misunderstanding me. I will not tolerate being spoken to in a tone that belittles me. I can love you and still say no. That kind of clarity is the blueprint. Without it, we invite confusion, resentment, and emotional exhaustion. Without boundaries, we start betraying ourselves to keep others comfortable. We say yes when we want to say no. We silence ourselves to avoid conflict. And every time we do, a piece of our peace quietly disappears. Setting boundaries doesn't always feel good, especially if you're someone who has been taught to keep the peace at the expense of your own well-being. You may feel guilt. You may fear being seen as difficult. But here's the truth. People who benefit from your lack of boundaries will always see them as a threat. That doesn't mean they're wrong. It means your growth no longer serves their comfort. You were not meant to be available for everyone all the time. You were not meant to bend, shrink, and stretch yourself just to stay liked or accepted. Peace requires choices. And boundaries are those choices made visible. They are how you protect your energy, your voice, your time, and ultimately your sense of self. Imagine your peace as a garden. Boundaries are the fence that keeps it safe, not to isolate, but to preserve. They protect what's growing. They define what gets to come in and what must stay out. You are the only one who can design that fence. You are the only one who knows what you can and cannot hold. And here's the powerful part. When you start honoring your own boundaries, you teach others how to honor them too. You begin modeling what it looks like to live from a place of self-worth. You no longer react to every slight or demand because your energy is no longer up for grabs. Boundaries don't make you hard, they make you whole. They are not a defense mechanism, they are a declaration of self-respect. They allow you to show up with clarity, with intention, and with the calm confidence of someone who knows exactly what they will and will not allow. So if you want to train yourself to be unbothered, start with your boundaries. Build them with love, enforce them with courage, and watch as your peace, the real lasting kind, becomes something no one can take from you. There's a defining moment in emotional maturity, a quiet realization that while you can't control how people behave, you are entirely responsible for how you respond. That shift is both liberating and humbling because it means your peace is no longer at the mercy of someone else's chaos. It means your healing no longer depends on someone else's apology. Your reaction is your responsibility, not because everything that happens is fair, kind, or justified, but because you are the only one who can choose how you carry it forward. We often grow up believing that our reactions are automatic, instinctual, something we can't help. They made me angry, we say. They pushed me too far. But that belief keeps us stuck. It gives away our power. The truth is, people may trigger something in us, but our response, that's where our agency begins. Reactions that come from pain, fear, shame, or insecurity are often impulsive, they're loud, they're fueled by the old stories we carry, stories of not being enough, of needing to defend ourselves, of having to earn respect. But when you take ownership of your reaction, you begin to pause and ask, where is this really coming from? That pause is powerful. That pause is everything. It doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. It means being curious about them instead of being controlled by them. You can feel hurt and still respond with grace. You can feel angry and still choose boundaries over outbursts. You can feel disappointment and still hold yourself with compassion instead of blame. Responsibility isn't about shame, it's about power. When you take responsibility for your reaction, you stop waiting for the world to change for you to feel okay. You stop needing every conversation to end in validation. You stop chasing emotional justice in places that cannot offer it. You start choosing yourself. There's a deep kind of peace that comes when you know that someone else's behavior doesn't have to dictate your day. Their words don't define your worth. Their rudeness doesn't require your retaliation, and their misunderstanding doesn't need your endless explanation. When you own your reaction, you also begin to notice the patterns. You start to realize which situations, which people, and which environments pull you out of alignment. You gain the clarity to shift, to step away, to unlearn, and more importantly, you gain the power to respond in a way that's true to who you are, not who you used to be. Let's be honest, this isn't always easy. Taking responsibility for your reaction often means confronting uncomfortable truths that you overreacted, that you were triggered, that your inner child needed reassurance. But that confrontation is where healing lives. That's where transformation begins. When you stop pointing the finger and start asking, what's mine to own here? You grow, you evolve, you rise. Being unbothered doesn't mean being numb. It means being so rooted in your self-awareness that you no longer hand over your emotional thermostat to other people. It means knowing that your reaction is a reflection of your inner world, not their outer behavior. This kind of ownership is strength, not the kind that demands attention, the kind that sustains peace. It's not about silencing yourself. It's about responding from wisdom, not wounds. It's about holding your power with open hands, knowing that the way you move through the world speaks louder than anything else. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their storm, remember your reaction is your responsibility. Let them keep their chaos. You choose your calm. There comes a time in your emotional growth when you realize that silence is not a weakness. It is a strategy, a boundary, a form of wisdom. Not everything deserves your attention. Not every comment requires a rebuttal. Not every insult is worth your voice. And not everything that offends you is yours to fix. When we believe we must respond to everything, we give away our power. We become reactionary instead of intentional. Our energy becomes scattered, our peace diluted. The truth is, you don't have to show up to every argument you're invited to. You don't have to engage with every person who disrespects you. You don't owe your energy to situations that seek to drain rather than build. In the past, you may have responded because you felt the need to defend yourself. Maybe you didn't want to be misunderstood. Maybe you thought silence made you look weak. But here's the truth. People committed to misunderstanding you will twist your words no matter how carefully you choose them. And people who respect you won't need an explanation for your silence. Choosing not to respond is not the same as avoiding. It's choosing clarity over chaos. It's saying, I see the game and I'm no longer interested in playing. It's recognizing that you don't need to fight battles that don't serve your peace. You don't need to explain your boundaries to people who constantly cross them. You don't need to participate in conversations that go nowhere except deeper into misunderstanding. When you start protecting your energy, you start seeing things for what they are. You notice the difference between someone who's genuinely trying to understand you and someone who's just trying to provoke you. You notice the difference between conflict that builds and conflict that breaks. And most importantly, you start trusting yourself enough to walk away when your peace is on the line. Some responses aren't verbal, they're energetic. Your absence from the drama is a response. Your calm presence in the face of provocation is a response. Your refusal to engage is a powerful statement. You're not avoiding accountability. You're practicing emotional intelligence. You're choosing not to amplify noise that doesn't align with your values. Training yourself to be unbothered means developing the discernment to know where your energy is most valuable. Your time, your focus, your emotions, they are sacred. And when you realize how much peace is lost in the pursuit of being right or being heard by the wrong people, you begin to pull that energy inward. You begin to protect your stillness with the same intensity you once protected your pride. This doesn't mean you never speak up. It means you speak when it matters. You speak when your words can create clarity or connection, not when they're being used to fuel fires that were never yours to tend. You begin to trust the power of your presence more than the need to prove a point. So the next time someone provokes you, the next time a comment stings or a post feels like a jab, ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will my response create healing or just more noise? Is this battle even mine? And if the answer is no, breathe, pause, and walk away. Let them think what they want. Let the moment pass. Let your silence speak volumes. Because peace isn't just about what you say, it's about what you choose not to say. And sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. One of the most liberating truths you'll ever embrace is this: you are not meant to be understood by everyone, and trying to be will only keep you small, exhausted, and disconnected from your most authentic self. At some point in your life, you were likely conditioned to believe that being liked or accepted meant being understood. That if you could just explain yourself better, communicate more clearly, soften your edges, or shapeshift into what others expected, you could finally earn connection, approval, and peace. But let's be honest, how often has that worked? The desire to be understood by everyone is rooted in a fear of being rejected. We want to be seen, we want to be valued, and there's nothing wrong with that, it's human. But when that desire starts to control your choices, when it dictates how you speak, live, or show up, you begin to abandon yourself in exchange for temporary validation. Letting go of the need to be understood isn't about apathy, it's about self-trust. It's about reaching a place within where you know who you are, what you stand for, and what your truth is, even if it's inconvenient, even if it's uncomfortable for others, even if it goes against the narrative they've created about you. Because here's the hard truth: some people will misunderstand you no matter how carefully you speak. They'll project their wounds onto you. They'll hear your boundaries as betrayal. They'll take your growth personally. And when that happens, your job is not to shrink. Your job is to stand firm in your knowing. And remember, their misunderstanding of you is not your failure, it's their filter. Trying to be understood by everyone will dilute you. You'll find yourself constantly explaining your feelings, justifying your needs, and over-explaining your choices to people who aren't actually listening. And every time you do, you chip away at your own sense of peace. What if instead of trying to be understood, you focused on being honest? Not loud, not defensive, just honest. Honest about what you need, honest about what you feel, honest about where you're going, even if others don't get it, because the people meant for you, the ones truly capable of seeing you, won't need a PowerPoint presentation on why you've changed. They'll feel it, they'll respect it, they'll support it. And those who don't, let them go. Or at the very least, let them misunderstand you without needing to fix it. This kind of release takes practice. It takes sitting in the discomfort of being misread or judged. It takes choosing your peace over your pride. It takes reminding yourself again and again, I do not need to be understood to be valid. I do not need to be understood to be whole. The more you let go of the need to be understood, the more space you create for real peace to rise. Not the peace that comes from being liked, but the peace that comes from being aligned. Not the peace that comes from approval, but the peace that comes from integrity. Letting go of this need doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It means you stop negotiating who you are in hopes of being accepted. It means you stop trading your authenticity for belonging, because true belonging only happens when you stop trying to fit and start choosing to be. So when you feel the urge to over-explain, to prove, to defend, pause. Remind yourself that not every person will understand your healing, your boundaries, your silence, or your joy. And that's okay. The goal is not to be universally understood. The goal is to be at peace with yourself, even when others don't get it. Because at the end of the day, your life is not a consensus, it's a commitment to your truth. And that kind of peace, it doesn't require permission. We often imagine peace as this far off place we'll reach once everything finally settles. Once our relationships are smoother, our bank accounts are full, our bodies are healed, and our pasts are resolved. We speak of peace as if it's a finish line, as if one day we'll just arrive, unpack, and live there forever. But the truth is far more grounded and far more empowering. Peace isn't a destination, it's a daily practice. It's a choice you make moment by moment, again and again. Peace doesn't come from things being perfect. It comes from how you respond when they're not. It's born in the quiet decisions you make each day to center yourself instead of spiraling, to pause instead of react, to release what you can't control instead of clinging to it in fear. Peace is found in how you speak to yourself when no one else is around. It's in how you soothe your own disappointment. It's in the breath you take before responding to that text. It's in the discipline to step back from someone else's chaos and say, that doesn't belong to me. You don't achieve peace, you practice it. You practice it in hard conversations. You practice it in forgiveness. You practice it when you feel triggered but choose not to lash out. You practice it when you're anxious but you come back to your breath. You practice it when you're tempted to argue with someone who doesn't deserve access to your energy. That's what real strength looks like. And here's the thing, you won't always get it right. Some days peace will feel close, like a warm presence sitting beside you. Other days, it will feel miles away. And on those days, the practice is to be gentle with yourself, to return to it without shame, to remember that peace isn't about perfection, it's about permission. Permission to try again. Permission to not have all the answers. Permission to choose calm over chaos, even when every nerve in your body wants to react. Peace is also about what you release. You'll never feel grounded if you're carrying the weight of other people's expectations, unresolved wounds, or narratives that don't belong to you anymore. Practicing peace means unclenching your fists. It means walking away from cycles that keep you anxious. It means no longer auditioning for love or approval. It means saying no when it costs your mental clarity. And let's be honest, choosing peace will sometimes make you look unbothered, detached, even too quiet to people who are used to you over-explaining, over-giving, or overreacting. That's okay. You're not here to be the loudest. You're here to be the most aligned. Some people won't understand the peace you're cultivating. Let them talk. Let them question it. Their confusion isn't your concern. The more you practice peace, the more you'll start to recognize how sacred your time, your energy, and your presence really are. You'll begin to guard them not out of fear, but out of reverence. Peace is the quiet confidence that grows when you live in alignment with your values, your boundaries, and your truth. And it doesn't come from the outside in, it's something you build inside, one intentional choice at a time. To know peace isn't a mountaintop. It's not a place you arrive and stay. It's a daily return, a coming home to yourself. It's the soft but powerful answer to a world that constantly tries to shake you. And every time you practice it, even in the smallest ways, you're rewriting your story. You're saying, I choose myself. I choose stillness. I choose not to be shaken by every storm. That choice, that's the real destination. And you get to make it every single day. Training yourself to be unbothered isn't about shutting down or becoming numb. It's about rising into a deeper kind of strength, a strength built from stillness, from boundaries, from choosing your responses with intention instead of impulse. It's about trusting yourself so completely that you no longer hand over your peace to the moods, opinions, or behaviors of others. You begin to realize that your energy is not community property, that your inner world doesn't need to be tossed around by outer noise. that you can choose calm over conflict, clarity over chaos, and stillness over striving. And you do it through practice every day. You protect your peace with boundaries. You take responsibility for your reactions. You stay silent when silence says more. You stop chasing validation and you trust your truth. You make peace not a place you wait to arrive at, but a way you live, moment by moment. This kind of unbothered isn't detachment. It's deep alignment. It's the quiet, steady knowing that you don't need to defend your worth. You just need to honor it. And when you learn to live that way, the world might not always understand you, but you will finally understand yourself. And that is the kind of peace no one can take